Here we go. Updates on Xbox Business, the official podcast, roughly 20 minutes. So let's see what Phil has to say.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision
Hey,
Blizzard
Clovey.
now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware too and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams.
All right.
So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
The fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next
he's
5 to
dancing
10
around
years,
the details.
exclusive games,
Phil's
games that are
dancing around
exclusive
it.
to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the
That
game
could be
industry.
because
That's
he's
not some
legally
great
obligated
insight,
to,
because if you
like
look
he
at the
can't
last
really
10
say
years
shit,
and what the
or
biggest games are today,
something
it's a
else.
natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the community, for players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, We're
So
gonna
you
do
are
it.
becoming
And
third party,
that's really
Phil.
the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not.
Okay, so they're not
and we're
going
gonna learn.
third party fully.
So when
There's
you are
just these
thinking
4
about the
games.
future and this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud.
So it
which
sounds
really
like
makes
to
them
me they're sort of
accessible to,
testing the waters a
hundreds
bit
of millions
more.
of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there.
Yeah.
But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
And then knowing that, how do we think about our first party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform. And that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day 1. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the 2 key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said,
What's
all
up,
of our
Ben?
games are
What's up,
always
Penny?
in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited
Wow.
to share today.
So the
And
rumors,
it's all
speculation
part
were
of our
true.
commitment to make
Wow.
the Xbox experience and the games that we build as widely available as possible.
So-
now the 34 million Game Pass members can all
For those that don't know, I believe IGN had covered this a while ago. I forgot exactly when, but this was like last year. I would say like within the last 3 months or something like that, or last year, maybe 6 months. IGN, I think it did an article covering this, like where the possibility of like, Activision Blizzard games coming to Game Pass, it would not be Call of Duty games. They definitely made that clear. It would not be any Call of Duty, but that didn't like necessarily mean that Diablo games would not come to Game Pass. So Diablo 4 being a big hitter, like that was mentioned, like that's going to be a possibility essentially. Long story short, of the speculation and rumors of that Diablo 4. Now we're hearing it. It's coming. So, wow. Diablo 4 is a fail. To an extent, yes. I agree with that. Because for me personally, the end game is just not engaging enough to keep me wanting to play. And the seasons have not really been anything to write home about, I guess you can say. Also welcome in Calix. But yeah, like I enjoyed Diablo 4's campaign. It was my first one ever completed, did early. Like I enjoyed it. But after that, I made some build videos on it and things like that, and made some content. But then, like, I think it was August, September, there was a report about 90% of the player base dropped off, and it's like, as a content creator, I have to evaluate that shit. I have to look into that. Like, I have to actually consider and factor that information in. Like, do I want to keep making content on a game where its player base has dropped off dramatically, even if it was just for that month or whatever, or a few months? It's like, no. And I chose not to. I chose not to keep making builds videos on that or content on Diablo 4 because of that. Obviously, the player base is probably since then he's gone up and down or whatever the heck have you. But season 1 was dreadful. Season 2 I think improved some stuff. Season 3 I've heard it's better, but I've also heard bad things. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, but like I said, it's my first ever Diablo game I've fully gotten into and played. I own Diablo 3. I've still yet to play that. I've never played Diablo 1 and 2, so I don't really have any opinions on that either. So I don't know. But from what I hear, a lot of friends that I've talked to in the community, stuff like that, say Diablo 3 is better than 4. And some think Diablo 2 is better than 3. So, I mean, it's just honestly, that stuff like that, games, is like anything else when it comes to it's subjective. So, you're entitled to your opinions, and people are going to say what they're going to say at the end of the day.
Enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's for the games you want, with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud.
Yeah, the play anywhere feature is great. Yeah,
win. We've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises, so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really, a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love. And that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years, and I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people to engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming, and in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed.
True.
But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches. Some of the
Well, yeah, we
games
care
that
about the
will
industry.
stand the test of time, and people
We
can
want
talk
better
about it.
games to get quality games.
But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say, I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously
Isn't
thinking about
Roblox
our
dying out,
responsibility,
though?
Our hardware
Or losing money?
responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people
Losing
that
money,
play
yeah.
these games,
Okay.
which is so great. I think about it for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and
It's
then
for PlayStation,
equally
maybe that's why.
important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Palworld. You know, Power World was able to launch. They were a game preview. They launched in Game Pass. They also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket
Right.
Pair was able to have this outsized success. And it was the largest
All right.
third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
Maybe they're
Talking
maybe they're the
about
highest
role
where
that
for
hardware
them
plays for
personally, but
creators
I don't
and
think you're
games
beating
and those communities.
PlayStation
What
with
about
some
the
of those
role that
numbers.
hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that, that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, you know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. I'm a slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end
using
up
like
doing
different
generational compatibility,
different coding basically too
But I will
for
say
the internal
compatibility,
software and
the
everything like
ability
that
to
for
not
the
only
consoles
play the
too.
games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save system to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access.
Sarah Bond, I know you're an Xbox person. I get it. But I need you to fix that statement. I'm sorry. What? No. What? No. I'm sorry. What? No. Does she not understand that what Sony's done, what Nintendo have done in terms of their numbers with certain games? Just get PlayStation Halo and I'll be okay. I mean, I know a lot of people, that'd be huge if they ever did that, but as far as I know, they have not confirmed any of that's happening. They have not confirmed any of that's happening. So
Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel
they already
that
do
as part
mobile
of First
gaming.
Party with the platform proximity. You
Colin,
know,
they already do that.
Kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff.
Really?
Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
All right. So unfortunately, not really anything. Not really much of any updates or whatever the hell's going on because they started things off early talking about 4 games. Phil talking about these 4 games. He can't really say what they are, what's going on. 2 of them being smaller titles that are essentially 4 games that are going to go to other platforms. Essentially alluring to they're going to go to PlayStation, basically, without actually saying PlayStation. 2 of them are going to be smaller titles, though. But as of right now, it's only 4 titles. So he's like, basically, don't. Without saying like Halo or Gears, this and that, he basically said these are only 4 games we have planned that are going to go to other platforms. Don't expect this to be like an every game thing or a cross board thing, basically. You know, going forward, it's just these 4 games, essentially hinting at or saying that we're going to test the waters a bit more as far as like having these games be on other platforms, like I'm guessing PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. So this just came out today. Yeah, literally. The podcast was like on YouTube, like came on about 3 p.m. Eastern. So nothing really is changing. Nothing about the Game Pass other than we're getting Diablo. Y'all are getting Diablo 4 on Game Pass come March. Woohoo! Woohoo! I'm being very like pessimistic or whatever you want to call it with that, but. That's only because I've played Diablo 4, and the story's decent. It's good. It's solid. You know, endgame is just not engaging enough for me to keep playing it. So I'm just like, it's like cool. People that are Diablo fans, the Diablo community that want more people to play the game, cool. You can play it through Game Pass once that happens or whatever. But not really anything else. Like they're just still keeping the same model, it seems like, for the most part, and just trying to test the waters of 4 games that have not been announced yet that are going to go on other platforms, and just essentially Phil, Sarah, and Matt just all sort of just reassuring, reestablishing, yeah, the same strategies they've been doing for years. But also alluding to they're going to try and make their next like hardware generation be more powerful in a sense and allow for, you know, better development for the dev teams, things like that, and their visions for the future games and stuff like that. So nothing about a mid-generation Xbox version here. Nothing about that. They're obviously going to do their June show at Summer Games Fest or whatever the heck have you, or near that, and have more updates then, they said. Nothing about really any other games other than Hellblade 2 that's already been announced to come out, and Avowed this year's like that. They said they had 10 games, 10 plus major games come out this year. And so really just not really much of anything. Almost felt like in some ways almost feel like, why'd you even have this podcast then? I don't know. Other than, I guess, to just essentially confirm or clarify the rumors and speculation that's been going around about Halo, Gears of War, and etc. coming to PlayStation. As of right now, I guess that's been cleared up. As of right now, we don't know if they're ever going to come there, but Phil himself said, yeah, these are only 4 titles. He couldn't talk about anything more than that, but just 4 titles that are coming. They're unannounced. He couldn't really say anything else about it, because he wants to let the devs announce them when they want an announcement, things like that. So we'll be sitting here waiting, I guess, till they announce those 4 games that are going to be coming to PlayStation and Switch, I guess, or at least PlayStation in the future. So he might be legally obligated too, and it was just kind of weird how this lady was asking questions that were just not really the tough questions to ask. It was more just it felt very, very too safe and scripted for my liking. So yeah, that's what we get apparently. That's where we're at with this. Apparently, nothing's really changing with Xbox other than more games and nothing happening with Game Pass other than Diablo 4, and the next console generation are focused on working towards whatever the heck they call their next freaking console that probably comes out in 2028 or some shit. I don't know. But this is what we get.